Hi, this is Steve Eldridge with Me's Gluten-Free Bake Shop in Colleyville, Texas. And we're here today to talk about how to bake that gluten-free. If you're gluten-free, you know a lot of times when you go to bake something, the recipes just don't translate and the baked goods just don't come out the same. So we're doing a new segment here called How to Bake That Gluten-Free. And the first recipe we have for you today is actually from All Recipes, and it's a pumpkin spice cupcake with a cinnamon buttercream frosting on it. So this recipe was submitted by Javaru. Now the only thing we're going to change is we're going to substitute out the all-purpose flour for a gluten-free flour. Now the flour I like to use is cup for cup, and that's the only change we're going to make in this recipe. So let's see how these turn out. Let's get started.
Okay, the first step we're going to want to do is sift together our flour. We're going to use 2 1/4 cups of flour. Again, I use cup for cup flour. I find it works really well with baking. Then we're also going to sift in a teaspoon of ground cinnamon, half a teaspoon of ground nutmeg, half a teaspoon of ground ginger, half a teaspoon of ground cloves, half a teaspoon of ground allspice, half a teaspoon of salt, half a teaspoon of baking soda, and 1 tablespoon of baking powder. And once all our ingredients are sifted together, we're going to move over to our mixer with a paddle attachment. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to beat a half a cup of butter, which is softened, so 1 stick of butter. I'm going to incorporate that with 1 cup of white sugar and 1/3 cups of brown sugar. And I'm going to mix that together until it starts to come together. It'll change color slightly. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add 2 room temperature eggs. I'm going to add them one at a time and make sure that they get fully incorporated into the mixture before moving on to the next step. But once the eggs are mixed in, then what we're going to do is we're going to add 3/4 cups of milk to this mixture here in the bowl. And again, we're just going to beat that with the paddle attachment. Slow it down. Scrape down the sides of the bowl if you need to as we go along. And then we're going to add in 1 cup of pumpkin puree. And we're going to just mix that all in there together. And again, we want to make sure everything comes together before moving on to the next step. So take your time here. And then once all of this comes together, what we're going to do is we're going to add in the flour mixture that we have on the side. So you can do this in parts. I kind of did it all at once. The key when you add in the flour mixture is you just don't want to overbeat it after this. If you overbeat it, then it'll tend to get too tough. Your cupcakes will come out too tough. So I'm just going to beat this, get this fully incorporated in here. And then once this is done, we're just going to go ahead and scoop these into the muffin tins.
Okay, now that we have our batter all mixed together, so we just incorporated just until the flour was just incorporated. You don't want to overmix it or your cupcakes become tough. Now we're going to fill the cupcake tins about 3/4 full. I use an ice cream scoop that works out just perfect. And we're going to fill these, and then we're going to go ahead and throw these in the oven. All right, so we got the last one going in here. This recipe makes 24 cupcakes. All right, we got that scooped in there. Now we're just going to go ahead and throw these in the oven at 375 degrees. And we're just going to bake these for 20 to 25 minutes. And we're just going to look until we touch the top and they spring back. If you ever underbake something, they'll sink in the middle, and with gluten-free, that's really a problem. So we want to make sure these are nice and baked, and the pumpkin is actually going to keep them nice and moist. So let's throw these in the oven and see how they turn out.
The original recipe called for a cream cheese frosting, and I changed that just to an American buttercream frosting. So I did a double batch. So it was 2 cups of softened butter, 6 cups of powdered sugar, about 6 tablespoons of milk, and 2 teaspoons of ground cinnamon. And you just beat that till it all comes together and gets nice and light and fluffy. With buttercream, you can't really overbeat it, so you really want to beat that well with a whisk attachment on the beater. I mean, you can let it go for 5 to 8 minutes, just until it gets nice, light, and fluffy.
All right, so the cinnamon buttercream is done. It's all whipped up, nice and fluffy. So we're just finishing decorating these here. You can decorate them however you want. And there is our finished product. So you know, you'll have to take our word for it until you make them, but these get an A in our book because we were able to bake these gluten-free, and they came out absolutely perfect inside, and they taste wonderful. So I think that if you're looking for a fall pumpkin, sorry, not a fall pumpkin, if you're looking for a fall cupcake, these pumpkin spice cupcakes are absolutely to die for.